And this next fight, I'm looking forward to this one because I know I'm going to be on an island, so we'll see how it goes. But continuing the Brazilian flavor throughout this card, there's a ton of Brazilians on here. We got the most recent Ultimate Fighter winner, Mairon Santos, looking to go 2-0 in the octagon. And winning tough may not mean what it used to be, but Santos is an impressive prospect. He's facing a UFC fighter who's 2-2 in the promotion so far in Francis Marshall. And Marshall is a good test because he's young as well in his own right. Santos is 24, but Francis Marshall is only 25. He got signed to the UFC when he was 22, so Marshall has been here, done that. He knows what it's like to be the young guy in the UFC, and he still is a young guy in the UFC. And he's fought good opponents. He's beat guys like Dennis Bazukia, Marcelo Rojo, Connor Matthews, and fought William Gomes and Isaac Dolgarian, who are close to the top 15. So it's definitely not an easy fight, and both guys are getting a stiff test. But Mairon Santos, very good striker. He has a nice jab, good leg kicks. He's good at drawing fighters in and then countering with big hooks, good crosses, overhands, nice knees up the middle. He's precise. He has good hand speed. That left hook knockout he had off the back foot was beautiful. I mean, very technical striker. His one loss was to Dan Argueta, who we've seen in the UFC. He's a solid wrestler. He was able to beat wrestlers after that. He came back. He beat Edwin Cooper on the Ultimate Fighter House. So Santos was also able to beat his last opponent, Colin Offley, who had some wrestling. But I definitely think that that's still something he has to keep cleaning up. But he isn't a zero on the ground. His get-up game is decent. Argueta was able to break him and then eventually finish him in the third round. So he took a year off after that fight. He's looked level up since. But if Marshall can get him on the mat and wear on him a bit, he could get him to quit potentially. But I think if you're good at riding and mat returning opponents, using front chokes attacks and things like that, you could probably control Santos. His takedown defense did look better versus Edwin Cooper, but Cooper wasn't setting the shots up well at all. Santos, what he's doing is getting better at front foot offense, standing his ground, using his jab, which I think is what's going to help him more. Yeah, I still am a little bit suspect on the wrestling for him, but Francis Marshall, he's good at mixing it up. He has power. In this fight, I have to think he's coming in with a heavy wrestling game plan. He has to be smart the way he closes the distance. He can't take too many shots coming in, but he also can't let Santos get comfortable going forward. So if he has to take some shots to go forward, that's what he has to do. And he's good at landing punches in close. He will maybe fail on a takedown, but come up into a big hook and then go back on the legs. And he has power, so you see him hurt guys. He could put together some all right hand combinations. Pretty athletic, so sometimes you could just see him blitzing, close distance fast. And I think he's going to be smart here because Santos is a very linear fighter. So when he gets fighters to the fence, he could take him down pretty well. So I think Marshall can pressure and potentially get some takedowns. I mean, he was able to get takedowns when William Gomes take his back, and everyone knows how hard Gomes is to track down. Marshall, he'll slip the jab, then go double. He, like I said, has good takedowns against the cage, and then he's good at riding guys, kind of mat returning them, and I think he could do that here against Santos. He also is pretty solid at getting the back. He can control from there. His one fight where he got kind of dominated was versus Isaac Dolgarian, and he just got taken down and mauled, and I don't see that happening here, but he's training with guys like Grant Dawson, Gamrot, Movsar Evloev, other beast wrestlers on the regular. And this line just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I feel it should be closer to a pick'em than where it's at. I mean, Marshall has a bigger edge in the wrestling than I think Santos does in the feet. And Marshall's power, I think, makes competitive standing when he has the threat of the takedown. Santos looked sensational his last fight, but this is a much harder matchup to me. I think Marshall has fought a lot better opponents. And Santos, I think, has to get the knockout to win. He maybe can win a decision if he could hurt Marshall multiple times, but I tend to think if this fight goes long, Marshall will win a lot of the minutes. And I think if he comes in sharp on the feet and mixes it up, he's going to win. So I'm going to say that Marshall gets some back control time. I think he'll be able to control against the fence, maybe hurt Santos with some big punches. And I'm going to say Francis Marshall wins a decision here.